Welcome to Heal to Heal with E. James podcast. On this podcast, my guest and I will discuss topics and ways to help us to heal in every area of our lives. I believe that everyone can live a life that is happy, healthy, and whole. So I'm on a mission to help people to deal, heal, and fulfill. Deal with your problem, heal from the pain, and fulfill your purpose. Thanks for tuning in. Let's get to it. Hey guys, real quick, before we jump into the episode, I need you to do the 3 S's for me. What is that? First of all, I need you to subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss an episode of our podcast. Number 2, I need you to share it with your family and friends. Don't keep it to yourself. Share it with someone else. Lastly, I need you to say something. Leave us a comment. Let us know how we're doing. Let us know what you want to see from us, what you like, what you don't like. We are open to your suggestions. We want to know everything that you want to let us know about the podcast. All right. Now, get back to the episode. All right. Welcome to the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. I am your host, Earnest James, and I believe that everyone can and should live a life that is healed, whole, and healthy. And therefore, I'm on a mission to help people to deal, heal, and fulfill, to deal with your problems, to heal from the pain, and to fulfill your purpose. Thank you guys once again for tuning in to the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. If you haven't already, make sure that you follow us on our YouTube channel and on all of our podcast listening platforms. Definitely make sure you guys are checking us out on our YouTube channel, which is the Deal to Heal Podcasting Network, where you will find not only the Deal to Heal podcast, but you will find the Girl Dad Discussions podcast, as well as the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. And there's a couple other podcasts that are there too. And we're going to bring you guys even more podcasts as well. So again, make sure you guys check out the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast, the Girl Dad Discussions podcast, and all of the other podcasts that are on our podcast channel, which is the Deal to Heal Podcasting Network on YouTube. Make sure you guys are checking that out. Also, our podcast is brought to you by our new platform, which is the Deal to Heal School for Living, the Deal to Heal School for Living community on the school platform, which is to help us further our mission to help you deal with your problems, heal from the pain, and fulfill your purpose. So there we have resources and workshops to help you to do just that. The first 7 days are free, so you guys can go to the link. You actually can click the QR code in our upper corner in order to check that out. Again, we have workshops, we have ebooks, we have other resources and things that's there to help you on your healing journey. So make sure you guys go and check that out. The first 7 days are absolutely free, and if you like it and you decide to stay, it's only $27 a month, and each month you have access to a new workshop. And so we have we're constantly adding new workshops and things of that nature and resources to help you guys out. So again, the Deal to Heal School for Living on the school platform, SKOOL, the school platform. You will find that community. Make sure you guys go and check that out. They are our sponsor for our podcast. All right. So today, just like any other day, we are blessed with a guest. Chef Dennis, how you doing?
Great, blessed and highly favored.
Yes, sir. I'm definitely glad to have you, man. It's been a while. I was on your podcast. I think, did we do 2 episodes? We might have. I did one.
No, we did one specifically for you, and then you joined in on another podcast that we're doing. Yeah. We had a bunch of guests on the podcast.
Yeah. Definitely was a good time. Definitely. And I think, did we do the Girl Dad podcast?
Yes. That was the first one.
That's what it was.
And then you came on to our show with this open discussion we had.
Yeah, good. Yeah, so we're here now. We're here with me and you on to share my platform. I definitely appreciate you being here. Do me a favor. I want you to introduce yourself to my listeners. Tell us a little bit about who you are and what it is that you do.
All right, I'm Chef Dennis, of course. You see the name. Listen, I am the host of From the Battle to the Glory podcast, but also, I am a chef, of course. That's why it's Chef Dennis. And so, yes, I do chef it up. I have my own business, 3-course catering. And what's good about that is that I can be able to talk to the guest, have a great conversation as well, fill their bellies up with some great food. But my main thing is just sharing the gospel and just helping people understand what it is to live in this life. Everybody has a journey, but the destination is to see the Father. And so that's that's a little bit about myself. Yes, I'm married. I have kids. They're all grown. Yes, I am kid free. I have grandchildren, but they all over the place. So that's a little bit about me, man.
Yeah, I got you. I got you. And you mentioned about having the kids, and since we did have you on the Girl Dad podcast, I'm gonna hit you with those same two questions that I ask every girl dad. What does it mean for you to be a girl dad, and what is something that your daughters have taught you?
The one thing I can say, what is good about being a father with daughters, is that I have to be gentle. They teach me how to be gentle. Gentle in a way, being understanding of their feelings, their emotions. And so that's the great thing about being a man, being a father to daughters. Um, just being, gentle with them. You can't be as rough with them like you would with the boys.
Mhm.
But the girls, it's important. Yelling at them, what does it do? It makes them get into this little ball and scared. So you have to be able to be gentle with them, talk with them, and be firm with it, but
Yeah.
let them know that I am your protection. I'm your first protection, and then you're gonna get married. So you want them to understand what it is to look for protection, how it's supposed to be, how it looks from a father's perspective. Now I won't say a father's perspective, I would say a man's perspective
Yeah.
as a father. And so that's key. Being and so what I've learned from them is that being able to talk with them with a calm voice, not even when they make me mad, even when I'm upset at them,
Mhm.
still speak to them in a moderate voice.
Yeah. And I always say, to go back to something you said, when I talk to parents, raising kids, I always say you got to think about that you're raising somebody's husband or somebody's wife. So the experience that what you pour into them is going to be the experience that they take into that relationship. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, and it's not probably not as much as it was back in the day, but you will hate for what I'm saying, a man to bring your daughter back, like, nah, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like she ain't ready. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
right.
that go both ways. You know what I'm saying? Because I, especially as talking to mothers, single mothers that's raising sons, I'm like, you can't do everything for them. You got to make them responsible because they're going to be responsible for a family. And if you're raise them so much that you're doing so much for them that they never learn to be responsible, when they get into a relationship and they start a family, you know what I mean? They ain't gonna know how to step up and stand in that role as the lead of that family because they've been raised with somebody else taking care of them all the time. So I'm like, no, you got to make them take out the garbage and whatever those things are that they are responsible for. You got to let them be responsible. You can't do everything for them because when they get married and they get into a relationship, you ain't gonna be there. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And that woman, that wife is going to be looking for them to do certain responsibilities. And if you ain't let them learn it, you know what I'm saying? You can't learn on the job with that one. You know what I'm saying?
Word, yeah.
So that being said, man, we want to have a good conversation around relationships and marriage. You know what I'm saying? And so, one of the things that we both know is that how you go into a marriage definitely affects how that marriage is going to work out. And I always say we want to start with ourselves because ourselves is the only thing that we can control. And so going into a relationship, or should I say before you go into a relationship, one of the things that you gotta address is your own personal issues and your own things that you've been through. So when you're talking to men about, even like I said, before you even going into a relationship, let's look at ourselves first. What are some of those things that you look at, or you advise them to look at when it comes to observing, what's going on with themselves?
Well, the one thing I would say to men that's looking this that have decided they wanted to be a husband is look in yourself, within yourself, and find, we all are broken. There's a point of life where we've been broken, and you have to analyze that. And because some people grow up with this idea because of what they was raised in, far as like you might see your mother and father always arguing and thinking that's normal, and so you grow up thinking that's normal, and then when you decide to get a relationship and then to a marriage, you think that's normal. And so you have to really find out who you are. How I would ask a man, how do you find out who you are?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna speak from my perspective, but
Yeah.
when I speak from my perspective, I'm I want to share something with you that it's going to prosper your life, your relationship, your marriage is going to add value to your life. And the one thing I would say is, if you don't know and understand the relationship part about God, that's the key. That's the foundation it should be on. And I understand that everybody don't believe in the religion part. I said relationship. That's the start of how you going to seek out the best version of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Getting to know who God is. Who is God to Earnest James? Who is God to Chef Dennis? And so you have to find that place first. And I get that's a strong foundation. I'm not, and everybody have different beliefs, but knowing Christ is the foundation is going to benefit you, whether you want to accept it or not. That's up to you and that individual, I would say. But trust me, coming from we talk about brokenness, right? So I can speak from brokenness to success, to having a successful marriage. I was divorced. It broke me because I had a family. I didn't want no other man around my kids or raising or putting or having any input on how it's supposed to look. And so
Mm-hmm.
that broke me. And I was raised with two parents, always. My parents separated, but I had put in my mind as a young child that no matter what, I wasn't gonna be like my parents. So guess what? It happened to me. I got divorced. But the key thing what I say about the brokenness, I didn't seek out God. See, I didn't had a relationship. I didn't have one. And so I just like, oh, she fine. She got a bad body. Yeah. And that was it. And what happened? What did my desires led me to not understanding the woman, not getting to know her, not acknowledging her feelings or her emotions and respecting her. And so it led me to not being there for my daughter at a pivotal point of
Yeah.
her life. You know what I'm saying? I was, when she was born, I was there with her mother for 12 years. So after 12, I wasn't there no more. My daughter now is 21,
Mm-hmm.
but I have always been there. And so let me go back to the brokenness. The reason why I say brokenness is you have to look in yourself and find out who you are is because that determines your future, your present, and your current situation. Why? Because you don't know who you are. How can you really love somebody else if you can't love yourself and respect yourself? You got to respect yourself, your mind, your heart, and your body, your temple. You got to respect that. If you can totally respect that, then you can respect somebody else and you can really love somebody else because you love yourself, not in a selfish way. When
Right.
I mean loving yourself is mind, body, and soul. Getting in tune with that, and that helps you have the relationship. But it actually helps you understand who you are. In this world, we could just live, we could do whatever we want. But how do you learn who you are? What let's Some people might say, I don't want to do nothing about God, right? So now you just open to learn anything. No structure, no nothing. I'm just living. I'm going to the strip club, I'm drinking, I'm doing all that. And no repercussions, no nothing. You could do that, but guess what? There's a price with that.
Right.
It's a
Right.
price. And somebody might fall in love with you, and you be like, "Nah, I'm good." But you have been so kind to them, and now you like, you know what? I'm good. I want to live my life. But you didn't show so much love to this person. Now you didn't. Now they all discombobulated.
Yeah.
You told them something in their ear. Oh yeah, I'll kick it with you. But at the end of the day, your heart wasn't even right. Your mind wasn't right. You had all this trauma that you kept in, and now you just like, whoever hurt me, I'm gonna hurt somebody else. And I'm talking about not physical. I'm talking about mentally,
Right.
because
And emotionally, yeah, definitely.
emotional. That's what it's at. You look at all these relationships in the world. What's going on? A lot of people did not. They have trauma. They didn't get the deal to heal. They didn't deal with the trauma. And how do they know they have an issue if they don't seek out what's on the inside first?
Yeah.
They didn't, like you said. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's really important. Because I always say you got to start with self, because self is the only thing you can control, and we got to really look at the things and the experiences that we've been through and how we're carrying that into our next into a relationship first of all, and then also going back to like what you said, and I don't want to definite I don't want to go deep into the divorce conversation because that can be a whole nother podcast, and that is what we're focusing today. But it's a reality because, like yourself, I was raised in a two-parent household, but my parents did stay together, my whole life until my mom passed away, and so that was my example too. So, like you said, I don't want to be like my parents. My example was I want to be just like my parents. Like I want to stick it through. So when I end up going through a divorce, it broke me as well because I'm like, this not the example that I saw. Right? Like my parents is like thick and thin, sticking it through the whole 9 yards, and we're hitting a couple bumps in the road, and I'm still like, all right, we still can make it work. And she like, no, it's not working. You know what I mean? But I'm like, but that ain't what my parents did. Like they stayed together. Like we supposed to stay together. So just in my experience, from my example of what marriage looks like, and really taking that for better, for worse, and seeing that modeled in front of me, that was my example. So just like even though we're coming from two different viewpoints, when it came to that divorce, it broke me as well. But I did learn from that experience. Like there were some things that I had to deal with within myself as a result of that. Then I also had to look into the part that I played going into the marriage. Like, all right, what parts of me, needed to be addressed ahead of time, that had I done that work, maybe the marriage still would have worked and we might not have ended up in divorce. And I think that's something that we have to look at too. What was the part that we played in it, and then what did we learn from it? You know what I mean? Because then you get married again and then find yourself divorced again. Then it's like, all right, I didn't learn the first time. You know what I'm saying? But it's all a learning process. But I think, as men, we definitely have to be more accountable of our actions and our contributions to the fail or the triumph of a marriage or a relationship.
Hey, Ernest, when you said that, right? The one thing I would tell, watch this, accountability. I took it. When I look back at my life, right, and I would tell men this: you got to really look at yourself, look in the mirror, and look at yourself. The one thing I've learned in my first marriage, right, is that I was selfish, bullheaded. I didn't think about my wife, my past, my ex. I didn't think as deep as I think now. I didn't do that. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I didn't honor her. I respected her, right? But I didn't go above and beyond. I didn't sit and do the things that was required of me. Like I worked, I provided, but now when it was really time to love her, I didn't do that. Like I said, selfish. I wasn't humble. You know what I'm saying? I had this mindset. I'm the man. You're gonna listen to me. See who? Hey, I'm telling you, men, right now, get that mindset out of there. Don't, just because you're a provider does not mean that you have dictatorship over your wife. No, that's a union. Y'all become one, like one flesh. You have to understand and respect that. It's important. And so I learned like hey, it ain't about me. It's about us. It's
Yeah.
no more eyes. When you get married, it's no more eyes. It's us.
Yeah, yeah, and I want to point this out too because you mentioned about not being a dictator in your relationship, and when it comes to a leader, the way that you know you're a good leader is people want to follow you. If you got to make somebody follow you, then you lacking in some area. But when
Work.
you show up just being yourself as the leader, people just like, oh, I want to follow that guy. You know what I mean? I like where he's going and I like how he's leading. So, and we're not even gonna get into the whole submission conversation, but it goes to that. Like, no woman has a problem submitting to a man who she believes in. When she believes in your leadership and she believes in where you're going and where you're guiding her, then she don't have a problem. Be like, all right, cool, I'm good. I ride with you and let you lead. But it's when you don't have direction, or if the way that you're trying to lead is not true leadership, then that's when you get problems.
Of course, like you said, before you become a leader, you got to learn how to follow first too.
Yep. Yes,
That goes
sir.
for any man. You have to. So when you talk about, listen, if you, me and you, we had two parents, right?
Mm-hmm.
And our fathers showed us was supposed to. I didn't say not you. I'm saying supposed to teach us how to love their wife.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna share something with you guys. My dad said this to me when I was a kid, and I didn't understand it, but I understand it now. Now, my father got remarried, right? And when he got remarried, he told me that his wife meant more to him than his kids. Now, mind you, me and my other siblings was his biological kids. We
Mm-hmm.
like we the three of us shared the same mother and father, right?
Right.
And he said his wife meant more to him than us. I was like, wow, what you mean? I ain't understand it. And then I was like, what you talking about? I'm your kid. But
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
understand
Yeah.
it. And when you say, and it came to me when you said submission. That's the key right there. Some people get married, right? And have children outside of their marriage, and they put their children first. No, it's
Mhm.
supposed to be husband, wife, then children. Whether you get married with children or not, because guess what? What we talk about, what you learn. If you show your children that's outside of that marriage that you love your wife, then they learn how to love their significant other the right way,
Right.
honor them, respect them, and going to bat for them. Not to say, oh, you mean more. No, it's about that. Listen, this is my wife. When you guys are gone, she's
Mm-hmm.
gonna be here for me. She got my back. When, when they get married, guess what? They've learned how to honor their wife or their husband because guess what? It's about them. Because when the kids leave the nest, guess what? It's just y'all two. And so that teaches them how to love their spouse. Without that, guess what? How do you learn that? Yes,
Right.
there are women that have children and they raise their children the best way they can. We're not taking that away from them. But there's a piece that's missing to the puzzle.
Yeah.
That it simple. It's like let's know not to women that raise men and raise girls. No, there's still a missing piece. The
Yeah.
woman she teaches the best way she can how to show, but she can't show the man part. So there's a missing piece. And so I always encourage, hey, how do you find that wife? I said earlier, your foundation. That's crucial.
Yeah. And
It's
I think,
crucial.
and I think, like you said, even with the example that your dad gave you, it's all about order. You know what I mean? And I'm glad you brought that up because the order is God, husband, wife, children. You know, and the part that I think, like you said, at that time when your dad said that to you, you didn't understand what he was saying, but what he really was saying, especially if you're going off the scripture, the Bible says when a man finds a wife and cling to your wife and leave, you got to start your own thing. that's where that example comes from. He's like, no, it's me, my wife, then y'all, because y'all going to leave here. Like you said, you're going to leave at one time and you're going to become a husband and a wife, and you're going to begin to start your own thing. And you got to know what that order is. So when you start your own house, it's that same order. And you might not recognize it now because you feel like you should be first because you're the child. But the reality is when you start your family, you're going to have to be in that same order in order for it to run smoothly. Like if it's out of order, it's going to show up and you're going to bump heads, and we ain't even talking about blended families, but even in a family where you got the same mother and father of the children, if the mother put the children before the father, that's going to become an issue. You know what I'm saying? You're not getting your big piece of chicken when you come home. Like, how little man got the big piece of chicken? You know what I'm saying?
Hey, Ernest, look, and it's crazy. Like, this is a great conversation. I pray that people listen to this, man, and they hear the essence of what I'm saying. Because watch this, Ernest. I did the same thing. Because my dad said that to me, my heart was hardened at that time. So I went into a marriage and said that the kids mean more to me than the wife. Because I didn't understand it. So this is my first marriage.
Right.
But then once I went through that, I understood it. I had to go through so much to understand that. And so now I tell my kids, hey, don't play no games. It's my wife come first. And I get this question all the time. And I say, of course, the wife come first. Kids come second. But like you said, order. But men, listen, men know this, whether you have children outside of the marriage that you in, outside of the relationship. That's why marriage is key. Because guess what? You have to honor one another. And that's where true love come in at. Yeah. And that's why, guess what? The relationship with God will teach you that. Yeah. It will teach you how to honor your wife and then your children. It definitely will show you that and guide you to how to love her. And guess what? Not just love her the way she wants to be loved, love her the correct way. And how that look, that's up to you and that individual to learn each other, grow with each other. Your wife don't walk behind you just because you're the leader. She walk beside you because that's a journey that you and her are going on. It's a journey. So she's right beside you, not behind you, not in front of you, beside you. Because guess what? Everything that you come against, she's going to come against. When you have struggles, your struggles going to overspill on her. When she has struggles, it's going to overspill on you because guess what? You supposed to be there for one another, carrying one another. A lot of people don't look at it like that. But guess what? We are stronger together versus by ourselves. When you by yourself and you going through something, you go by yourself. But when you got your wife and y'all going through it together, she builds you up. She picks you up. Same thing with her. When she's going through something, you going to pick her up. Whether it's physical or mentally or spiritually. Guess what? That's what we're here for. Just think about it.
Yeah. And I want to switch it up just a little bit, right? Still in the same vein of the conversation, because when we're talking about, we talked about the order that comes and us not learning, or not knowing necessarily the first time around, right? And then we get married again, you know what I mean? And so now you got a second chance, whether it's a marriage or a relationship, to go, to try it again. But we have to stop and actually realize also that anytime we're going into a new relationship, we're bringing parts of those old relationships with us, right? And so it's important to make sure that we cultivate and we also learn from our prior relationships as we're going into these new relationships, whether it's a marriage or whatever. And so when we're talking about, moving into these new relationships, these new marriages, or should I say, and we're taking these parts of our old relationships, the good, being able to filter the good parts and the bad parts and recognizing how not just intimate relationships, but even how our personal relationships, our friends, and all of that affect how we show up in relationships and affects how we show up in our marriages, at the same time. So we definitely got to be able to cipher the good and bad, even with that. And so, when you're talking about it, from your experience going into, your marriage, your second marriage, and recognizing the things that you didn't learn the first time around, how important was it to not only learn from those past relationships, but even getting around people or, drawing from people who may have had successful relationships and successful marriages, to be able to pour into you as you go into this next marriage, better than you left the last one.
The first marriage, what I've learned from the first to now is that if you married, you should be hanging with married friends.
Mm-hmm.
You shouldn't be hanging with single friends. That's number one. Number two, listen, godly friends, because they're gonna hold you accountable. When you act out, they're gonna say, "Hold up, Chef, hey, don't." Especially when you say something that's incorrect to your wife, that you have those friends that, hey, I promise you, your marriage will last. Without those, it can last, but it's important though, because you know why it's an important piece? Because they help you hold you accountable. When you're not speaking right to your wife, say, "Yo, boy, don't talk to her like that." And you have to be a man to say, "Dad, they corrected me.
Yeah,
Trust me. When somebody step outside the line, my friends, they all married. When they step out of line, they say, yo, that's my, watch this. This is real love. My boy, when Norm, if he talk out of his face to his wife, which is Judy, right? I say, yo, bro, don't talk to my sister like that. I will get mad because guess what? I love y'all that much. Everybody can't do that, but I love them that much. I say, yo, that's my sister. Because remember, we are members. We are children of God. And so that close knit, I said, hold on. Now I got the authority to tell you that, hey, man, that's my sister. You can't talk to her like that. You my brother. So, hey, I'm correcting you. And why it's important to let God be the center of your relationship outside of your marriage and in your relationships outside of your marriage. You want those things because guess what? You know they're coming from a place of love, not a place of envy, not a place of jealousy.
Yeah.
And so that's why it's important for those things. And so guess what? I don't have single friends. I do, but I don't hang out with them.
Yeah.
Unless they're my brothers, my biological brothers. Now, all my brothers not married, and my sister, she's not married. But other than that, men outside of that, nah, I can't hang out with them. They got to be married because guess what? I want to hold them accountable. I want them to hold me accountable. When I step out of line, be like, yo, Chef, no, you can't be doing that. And that's cool. I'm okay with that. Everybody's not okay with that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And I think that's important for us to point that out, about those male relationships that we need to have with our friends, even our family, male members of our family. When it comes to that, I think there's three things we need to show up in those relationships for it to work in that way. As men, number one, we got to show up with vulnerability. We got to be able to just be open and be ourselves. Number two, we got to show up with permission. Right. So I'm going to show up in this relationship. I'm going to be vulnerable, but I'm also going to give you permission to, if you see something wrong, I give you permission to check me on it. You know what I'm saying? And then that last one is accountability. I'm going to hold you accountable and I expect you to hold me accountable as well. So when I see something that you're not doing right, as your brother, we got this pact where you've already given me permission to be like, hey, you know what I'm saying? You ain't right on that. You got to change that. And when you see something that's not right with me, you're able to say, hey, Ernest, that ain't right. You can't talk to your girl like that. You need to apologize or whatever. And when we build those relationships amongst ourselves to be able to hold ourselves accountable, that's when we start having those real bonds where we can help each other grow in different areas and we can help each other stay together. Because your friends and your circle would definitely make or break your marriage. You know what I'm saying? They will make or break your marriage.
Hey, Ernest, let's think about this. Watch this. Listen, it's about men right now. So it's two men right now having this conversation, right? You know what's crazy? The crazy thing is this: women get together, right, and talk all the time, whether they helping or they hurt, but they do it so fluently, right? Men don't do that because guess what? You look at him and you say, "Oh, he got a better job, he got more money, he got a better car." No, guess what? Have a conversation, yo, bro. How you get that? How you, and if they in the right state of mind, right, doing the things that's right, that's beneficial, then you gotta ask them, yo, bro. I need to know how you did that without pride. Put your pride aside. Ask them, yo, bro, how you get there? How did you get that? And guess what? And we would have better relationships, men relationships, because a lot of men hold on pride. They're like, yo, I'm not going to him and ask him that. His girl bad. I'm not gonna ask him, yo. So how your relationships last this long? Your marriage, nah, pride. They let that pride get in the way and stop them from learning how to be the better version, the better man of themselves. That's why I joined King. King is brotherhood. You know what I'm saying? It's about that. And guess what? I met a lot of men. They go through that, and I put like this: men that's gonna listen to this, ask yourself this: are you in a community, a church community? Are you in some type of church? Why I'm saying church? Because guess what? Watch this. Y'all ready? It's not a lot of men in church. It's not. But guess what? The women in there. The women are in there. They thriving in the churches. I ain't saying they perfect, but they thriving. Men, guess what? We need to be in those places because guess what? It teaches us, it helps. There are some bad churches. We know that. There are some good too. They're more good than bad. You just got to find it. And guess what? And it teaches you how to lead, help you leading your family in better relationships. And it start with the men because why? Guess what? We can learn how to talk to one another. Get into those men in those spaces where I'm going through something right now. Man, man, I watch this. The biggest thing I always say this when I'm out there ministering, hey, I don't care. Don't think you ain't too big, too strong that you can't fall to lust. Huh? And guess what? That it's not talked about. They want to do men want to do what they want to do and think they can get away with it. But guess what? What does it do? It hurts something. It's not beneficial for your future. Yeah, you got some cheeks. I'm sorry to say it like that. I'm just being real, But guess what? Now you got a woman feeling, oh, that's all he wanted. What does it create?
Yeah,
it does not create a happy space.
Yeah. So and I think us as men too have to be able to be vulnerable about the things that we deal with and things that we have been through too, in order to allow that space or provide that space for us to open up as well. Because I talk about all the time the things that I've been through, coming through divorce and depression and suicidal ideation and all of those things. A lot of those things we wouldn't admit, you know what I'm saying? And so sometimes one of us had to be the first one to say, hey, look, I've been there, in order to open up those safe spaces to make the other man like, you know what, let me go in and be honest and be, share my struggles as well, because that's the only way we're going to be able to really help each other, not trying to save face in front of each other, but actually save space for each other is how we're going to be able to do that. So I want to transition a little bit more before we get out of here. We talked about, dealing with ourselves and our brokenness and dealing with those past relationships, before we go into our next relationship or marriage. And so let's, transition just a little bit because now we get here, right? We get into the new relationship, we get into the new marriage. What are some of those things that, now that we're here, that are just a couple of tools or tips or tools that you could give for us to say, all right, we're in this new marriage now. How do we make this thing work? How do we, keep it running smoothly? Because it always starts out smooth. Or I ain't gonna say always, because sometimes it don't. But usually in the beginning, you're good. You know what I mean? But what are some of the tips or tools that you may be able to give us to kind of keep this thing good, as long as we can?
All right, so here's some key points. One is Listen, marriage is work. How much you pour into it is how much you're going to get out of it. So if you want a successful marriage, listen, you got to work at it constantly. You might in the beginning you might do some dating and going out. You got to constantly do that. You got to constantly, if she like flowers, you got to constantly buy her flowers. Not every day, 6 months later, down the line, buy some flowers. Take her out to dinner, treat her nice. Do some things that you haven't done. Always doing something new to renew your vows or make every moment special. You're gonna have arguments, yes. But guess what? Know this. Being humble is gonna make it stronger. Being obedient, let me change that word because some people don't like the word obedient, but being dedicated. I'm gonna change that. Now I'm gonna be real. Like obedient is like, oh, you talking to a dog. No, so let's change that. Let's talk about being dedicated. Being dedicated to one another and honoring, respecting. Even in the midst when times get hard and rough, just being dedicated. The commitment, a soul commitment between you and that person. Just being solely committed. Because guess what? You're gonna have temptation, but you got to resist that temptation because guess what? You have the prize. When a man finds a woman, God says, when a man finds a wife, he finds a good thing. So you have found the prize. At the end of the day, men choose the wife. Don't let nobody tell you that a wife chose you. No, you choose the wife. Because guess what? When you choose her, she takes on your last name. You are her covering, as well as she's covering you in prayer, but you are her covering. And when you take on that wife, guess what? You are responsible for her. You, as the end of you're responsible for her. Because guess what? If she have kids, she have sons. They looking to daddy. They looking to the husband. What happened? Why you didn't protect my mother? Why you didn't protect her? You have to protect her. So that's key. And guess what? You got to be committed to that. So when you decide to get married, you got to be committed to all those things and willingly. But the ultimate thing is, I will never go away from this. If you have God truly in your heart and the center of your life, your marriage will last. You have to follow him, even in the midst of times when it get rough. Because guess what? I'm telling you this. She ain't always gonna listen to you. She ain't always gonna agree with you. But you gotta endure. And with having God the center of your marriage, it will work. And because he tells you it's not gonna always be good. He tells you that. See, and that's the good thing about it. He tells you it's not always going to be nice. It's going to be rough. It's going to be a time where you're going to go through a rough patch, but lean on him, and I guarantee you your marriage will last. I can't say anything else. For me and mine, that's how my marriage is going to last. It lasts because guess what? I've been married, right? My new marriage, 6 years. And guess what? We don't argue. Yeah, do we disagree? Yes, we do. Even in 6 years, we disagree. But guess what? We don't argue because we understand that God is the center of our marriage. And we're not going to always agree. We're not. And that's okay. But at the end of the day, we pray and we allow God to intervene with things that we don't understand. That's why the key point is him being the center of your marriage.
I love it. I love it, man. Man, before we get out of here, I definitely, first of all, I want to say thank you, Chef Dennis, because you've been on before. Of course, we've done the other podcasts. I've been on your space, and definitely looking to do some more stuff in the future. But I want you to have the last word. I want you to leave us with a word of advice, inspiration, however you feel. And then also your social media platforms where we can find you, your podcast and things of that nature. So I'll give you a couple of seconds to think about that. To my audience, thank you guys once again for tuning in to the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. Make sure you guys are checking us out on our website, the dealhealfulfill.org. Again, that's dealhealfulfill.org. That is our main website. Or trying to say my personal website, but where you have find out more stuff about what we got going on. Make sure you guys are checking us out there. Also, ebooks by ejames.com. My ebooks page, that page is no longer up, right? So we did close down the ebooks by ejames platform. But the good news is you still can get all of my ebooks, and you actually can get them absolutely free when you check out the Deal to Heal School for Living, which we talked about earlier. Just scan the QR code in the top corner, and you can get access to that community absolutely free for 7 days. While you're there, go to the resources tab, and there you'll be able to get all of the ebooks absolutely free. You can download them from there. And so make sure you guys go and check out the Deal to Heal School for Living, where you can get all of our ebooks, because the ebooks by ejames.com website is no longer up. Also, make sure you guys are checking out our inspirational t-shirt line, which is deal2healtees.com. That's deal, the number 2, healtees.com. Put some inspiration in your situation. Wear an inspirational tee and be inspired all day. That is our tagline. Make sure you guys go there and check out some of the inspirational t-shirts that we have, including our podcast merch, which is our t-shirts with our podcast logos on it. There's one for the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast, as well as one for the Girl Dad Discussions podcast. Make sure you guys go and check that out. Also, over the last couple of years, I've been blessed to be a part of an organization called the Forgiveness Mission. And what we do, we have free virtual workshops bi-monthly, talking about the area of forgiveness of self, forgiveness of others, how unforgiveness affects our bodies. Like, we really go deep into that conversation because we believe that forgiveness is definitely a missing piece in our world today. So the information that we give is definitely priceless, even though the workshop is absolutely free. So go to forgivenessmission.com to sign up for our next free virtual workshop. So whenever you're listening to this podcast, either workshop just ended or there's one coming up. So make sure you go to forgivenessmission.com in order to sign up for our next free workshop. And last but not least, I'm definitely pleased to announce that we have started our non-for-profit Deal to Heal the World Incorporated, and we have received our 501c. So all donations are now tax deductible. So make sure you guys go support us with the nonprofit Deal to Heal the World Incorporated, because we want to do more things for the community, but we want to make it free for the community as well. But we know that with anything that you do, there are some costs. So any donation, one-time donation or a reoccurring donation that you can give to the Deal to Heal the World Incorporated will allow us to have free events and things for the community. So make sure you guys support us there, and we definitely appreciate it. That being said, Chef Dennis, I want to say once again, thank you so very much for being on. Thank you for sharing your expertise and your story. Definitely looking forward to connecting more in the future. I want you to have the last word, so the floor is yours.
All right, guys. It was a pleasure to be here. Ernest, it was a pleasure to be here, man. You're doing some great work over here on both of your platforms. Listen, I want to share with you guys one thing is, if you don't have a relationship, get that relationship with Jesus Christ. Why? Because it's going to be beneficial for you, your family, your kids. It teaches you how to pray, and your finance, your health, all those type of things. It helps you. It's going to be beneficial. You can always find me at From the Battle to the Glory on YouTube. That's with the @ Chef Dennis, Chef Dennis -32. Then you can find me at Facebook, Chef Dennis Porterfield. Then Instagram, you got 3-Course Catering 3235. Then also you got Chef Dennis 3235. Those are my social media handles. You can always find me there. Go hit that subscribe button on YouTube. And listen, come join us. We on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, 6:30 Eastern time. Listen, every week we have guest conversation. It's faith-based, of course, but listen, it's great conversation. And you're always going to leave with something. And I want to bless you with that, the words of encouragement. Be blessed and be encouraged.
No doubt, no doubt. We can't end it no better than that. To my listeners, thank you guys once again for tuning in to the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast, where our mission is to help you to deal, heal, and fulfill, to deal with your problems, to heal from the pain, and to fulfill your purpose. Until next time, you guys be blessed. Thanks for listening to the Deal to Heal with E. James podcast. Remember to listen, like, subscribe, and share. This episode has been brought to you by Deal to Heal Teas. Put some inspiration in your situation. Wear an inspirational tea and be inspired all day. Let's go to dealtohealteas.myshopify.com. Remember, our mission is to help you to deal, heal, and fulfill. Deal with your problem, heal from the pain, and fulfill your purpose. Thanks for listening. Hey guys, if you're enjoying this podcast, then I know you'll enjoy the Girl Dad Discussion podcast. I'm your host, Earnest James, and I believe the relationship between a daughter and her father is one of the most important relationships a young lady can have. And therefore, my mission is to promote the daddy-daughter relationship by sharing the voices of girl dads to the world. So check out our podcast on every platform where podcasts can be listened to. And if you want to watch the podcast, check us out on our YouTube channel. Again, that's the Girl Dad Discussions podcast with your host, Earnest James.